Gonna keep this in raw. No problem.
What'd you say about raw?
What? Oh.
Pardon?
Today's
This
episode
dude said he's going in raw.
brought to you by
He's keeping it in there.
Genesis. Shout out to Jordan Clark for hooking us up on
Shout
these
out
tees.
to Whoop T.
We actually do
my
like
girl
these.
Whoopi.
Whoopi Goldberg.
This actually sounds pretty good. I think we'll be all right. So, with that said, what's up, guys? As you see, much different setting here for Infused Conversations. We are in the Asylum Natural Health and Supplement Shop, giving you the live action. If you are watching, you can see all of the chaos behind us. If not, and you're through Spotify, that's where we're at. The floors are not done. There is shit everywhere. And we are going to be interviewing Umar and Collin, kind of going over their stories on their end. So we're just going to get right into it. Umar, you start us off. Where did Asylum start? I don't care if you go to the beginning, just like the summit.
I'll go quick.
Right.
So the concept of Asylum really just became a thing on the last year of grad school. I didn't really have much of an idea. I just had a name, and I kind of went just with it. Spent my last $5. I post a video every year of my friends zooming in onto my bank account. You ever see it?
Oh, yeah, dude. It's sick.
Yeah. So negative, I think it was negative $1.18, and she goes, "You're having a bad day." And you just see my face like turn around. I'm like, bro. But I spent my last $5 on Fiverr, and I had some Indian guy make my logo, and that's when Asylum became an actual tangible thing. And then the page was just a motivational quotes and photography for bodybuilding, and that's how Asylum actually became what it is today.
Cool. All right. And then Collin, where do you play into it? What's your start? How do you know Umar?
All right, so Umar and I met in 4th grade. He picked me first for his speedball team. We went on to win the championship, and it's been on lock ever since then. But in terms of my connection to Asylum, it really started with when I was away in Texas. I was coming home. He was just finishing school in New York. We had gotten together a few times or whatever just to talk about, what his plan was after school. He was going to work for somebody else. And then it kind of came to the point where he's like, I just want to create like my own thing. And I told him, I was like, I think that's, a great idea or whatever. We were actually out at FDR Park, smoking a joint under the
My mom might see this. Nah, leave it.
Hey, it's raw and filtered. It's raw. You're going for it.
At FDR skate park, actually right under the highway in Philly. And we were just talking about, if he can build this concept and like the model and all this types of stuff and how it could be different than like the normal chiropractic model where you just go in, you get cracked and you leave, 15 minutes later, we kind of, he created this idea of, longer appointments, actually taking care of people's needs and kind of, going from there. And the thing that I always tell him, and I've reminded him since it started, is that people are always going to get hurt. And like, that's where the concept of like, how can we continue to create this model over time? It's that people are always going to be coming in because whether they like it or not, like injuries happen, and it's just part of, regular people's lives, athletes' lives, bodybuilders, anywhere, like injuries happen. And we're at the point now where, the amount of injuries that we've treated and the things that we've come across, it's just like, everybody comes in for a different reason, but they walk out the door with like the same experience and like being able to be a part of that. And like I said, coming from just like an idea to like being 3 years in now, it's crazy to see it, how it's like taken off.
Yeah. I will say from my end, so for those that don't know, I met Umar through a mutual friend, George, who when I was training a lot in the gym, he recommended me to go see Umar. And that was when he was still working out of his basement right before he transitioned to where we are at today. And kind of, I want you guys to dive deeper in that transition because I never really got to see that side. Like I always saw, I think now that I'm in it and I'm seeing all the intricacies, how you guys work together. What was it like having no money and both of you like working together in those initial stages, like the whole
Going from the bedroom?
Yeah, like what made that moment where you were like, this is it, like this is when the transition's happening, and I know
nothing. There was absolutely, there was literally, honestly, like looking back on it, I remember telling my dad, I was like, yo, there's like this plaza, like I've inquired about the price, and I think they were like saying like around 1900 is like where they would meet me, somewhere around there. And I had like $4,500. So I was like, I think I can make this work. And I was just like, yo, and Pops had, the flooring was left over from a massive job that he did in North Jersey for the mausoleums. So he did like the carpeting. So all that floor.
I didn't know that. The blue rug.
Yes, that blue rug was like almost like a $15 million job that he had done in North Jersey.
kind of sick to kind of tie that into the clinic, though.
I mean,
Cool
bro,
look.
I'm telling you, these mausoleums, the entire thing was imported from Italy. Like the outsides of the buildings that were marble, everything was imported from Italy. Like the mafia owns them in North Jersey. So he had anytime he would have leftover stuff, he's like, "Yo, I can snag it." So when he was working for his former boss and his partner up in North Jersey, he was like, "All right, well the flooring's taken care of." So that was almost like $6,000-7,000 worth of like cost that I was like, "Cool, I don't have to worry about that." And I had the 4,500, so I put like the rent and deposit down, which was like around just a little bit around 3 for the whole thing. And then I had a bunch. I told you I've had a bunch of credit cards.
Yeah.
And I've said this multiple times. I put everything on credit cards. So after the flooring was done, it was really just paint, which like paint for something like a place like the size of this was like maybe 1,500, 1,000.
Yeah.
For all of it. So we weren't talking that much there, and it built up over time. But I financed a lot of the equipment. Obviously now it's paid off. But I financed a ton of the equipment. The table was like 13 grand. The sauna was like 8 grand. What else? I'm trying to think. Even just like the other things that people thought were super costly. Like my place in the beginning wasn't like what it is now, obviously. So I didn't have as much costs. But I put like 35,000 like on credit cards. So that was like the beginning of the clinic. And when we were making it, we really didn't know. I will say for the clinic, I went on to Google and I still have I showed you the picture
Of like you
The
never
floor mat?
updated it
the floor mat the concept of what it would look like.
in there? No, I've
No,
never
so I
seen
went
that.
on Google and I was like, I need a floor map designer. And it was a free, like,
Yeah, template,
cheap,
like a little
cheap
makeup
thing.
for the area.
And I kid you not, it was identical to what I ended up making. Like it was a draw these lines to like guess how much it was, and I was off by like 10 square feet. I didn't have any measurements. I just drew a rectangle, and I'm like, this is what I'm working with. I cut out the rooms, so the original waiting room where you're in now,
Yeah.
and the open concept, the back sauna room, and my office, what it was formerly.
Yeah.
And I put a table here, my Cairo table here, 2 stools here, a TV here, and a sofa in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Like that's what the app allowed me to do. And then when I made the actual, like I'll show you when we go next door, the picture is from 3 years ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is identical to what it was. And when at the end it gave me the square footage, and I was like, "Yo, I almost got it dead on." And I didn't even know like what I was like making it out to be.
Yeah.
And then it was just like a thing.
Yeah. It was
So
meant
that,
to be.
yeah, and it's literally how it went. We just pieced it together piece by piece, and it slowly was like, okay, this is what we need. This is what we need to do. Even when we were doing the asylum wall with the wallpaper, we were like, we've never done wallpaper before, but like,
It turned out great.
Yeah,
People love it.
yeah.
That was one of the first things that anybody ever said. They're like, "Oh my god, I love the wallpaper and things like that." And it's just like we did all of this stuff by hand, like, all of ourselves, and that's what people come in and they're like, "Oh, it looks so great in here." It's crazy. Like when we tell them, like, you know, we made all of this ourselves. Like, I mean, we've said a couple times, like we've saved probably like $150,000 in labor, just from the fact that we've done all of the work ourselves. So it's just been crazy to see it from. I mean, these units, we lived in this town our whole lives, so
we've watched these units.
These
our whole
units have
lives.
been empty, like almost the entirety of our lives. Like they just
That one
nobody
was
in it.
actually 13 years.
Yeah, 13 years since anybody had been in that unit before we went in there. I mean, it looked like nobody had touched it in 13 years. Between just the amount of stuff that was just on the floor, whatever, the ceilings, everything had to get redone. Like it was just crazy the amount of work that like had to get put into it. But when you look back at like the pictures of the original like empty unit, basically like this one is, to like what we built, it's just crazy to think that like one, that we did that on our own, basically, you know, again with the help of his dad, and just how it just came from an idea to like, you know, what it is right now. I mean, my degree is in exercise science. He's a chiro. We've been friends since we were kids. So like once the concept started to like, you know, really come to life, it was like, oh man, like we could really actually like work through this and like have, you know, multiple avenues of like, how can we cover this? How can we like make sure that all these people were included, and we didn't have such like a specific niche that we were aiming for. And now it's grown to, you know, 500 plus people that have come through the doors over time. And it's just crazy to see like where it was 3 years ago to what it is right now.
Oh yeah, that's even from I think from an outsider's perspective, just seeing like, I mean, I always say that all the time. Just it was so cool what you guys were doing on your end with that, kind of just seeing the build up from literal basement to, and like we see, you know, now it's like being on the other side of it, where we always talk about like I would come in and I'm like, damn, there's always something new going on in here. And then getting to see it actually live in action every day, where I'm coming in, and like the same thing I think in here, where it's like even now it's like I'm here all the time, and I'll come back and you guys are like, yeah, we did this, and this, and this, and it's like it is a nonstop movement. I think it's extremely impressive. I want to ask you, Collin, kind of your mindset and thought process around wanting to, like, when you had that conversation with Umar, where your headspace was at, what you saw for yourself within the vision. Because obviously for Umar, it was kind of a little more simple for him. It was, I went to school, I did my thing, I'm going to use my degree. Whereas you were like, not so much, not that you're not using your skills within it. I think you're multifaceted, like you said, with your athletic background and your coaching, all those things, but more so in the beginning when that wasn't just openly available. What was your thought process behind, I'm in on this and where am I going to fit in? How am I going to make myself fit in?
Honestly, it's it's interesting because it's like originally early on, like I wouldn't even say that I was too like, I guess, keen on like actually like working with him in terms of like, I was really just there to support like the business and build it, like just as being his best friend. Like I was just really just helping him build the business. From that standpoint, like building out the office and all that stuff, like it wasn't even like initially like, oh, we're going to build this and like I'm going to be this part and this is how it's going to kind of go from there. It was really just more of like supporting him from the jump. And that's honestly, like I said, over time, it's kind of come down to once he really it started to become like a true vision and things were really growing. New Jersey's actually one of the few states that you can become a licensed chiro assistant. And there's a program through the school the chiro school that he went to, where it's an all online program. And kind of, he had originally brought up that idea to me, like, oh, like, you could become like my licensed assistant, basically, because that was what would have allowed me to like be in the office to work with the patients, basically. Yeah. Because like early on, I was in there helping in like whatever facet I could, but like again, once I got licensed, that's where I was able to like be more hands-on with the patients and help with those kind of things as we like continue to grow. And even now, like where we're at with things, it's more of like, I kind of just fill the roles that need to be filled. Like if we have things that need to be done from like a rehab perspective, like I'll step in and help with the rehab, or like if we need help with the patient in the office, like I'll help with the patient in the office, or if I just need to do content that day. Like honestly, content has probably been my biggest like involvement in things, is shooting. Like, I mean, when he's working, like prior to like you being here or Brad being here, like it was literally only him or like us two in the office ever. Yeah. So like all of the content or a majority of it, if it didn't come from like him shooting it or having like someone else just come in or whatever for like a couple hours to shoot something, like I was doing like all of that stuff basically. So that's kind of opened like a huge avenue for me just in that standpoint, because like shooting with the camera and things like that was not something I had really done like previously. So I've learned like a ton of stuff from him, and even just since like you've been around, like more stuff I've learned about the content from that side of things. But like probably behind the scenes, like content is where I've been like most involved, and that's honestly, I think it's been a good thing for sure, because like I said, in terms of being able to help build from behind the scenes, I think has like made a huge difference from that standpoint. But even now, like as we move forward, like obviously I've become more involved in like, the office and helping in those kind of things. But as we like even continue to grow, it's still like, this opening the store is like what my like future role is going to be basically. But like, that's not like the end all be all. Like once the store is like running, like it's basically just me onto like whatever our next project is to kind of like facilitate that to get like done basically, is like what our plan. And that's kind of the things that we've talked about until we continue to grow to like our, max capacity or full plan basically that we've talked about with like the full wellness center and things like that. But it's, like I said, it's an interesting dynamic. I've really done more of like just supporting and almost like not volunteering, but like to some degree, just like being a part of it for that. For sure. Just because I see like the end goal, and I know that like, my portion of it, or where I see things like filling out for me more, is like on the back end of things, like as we continue to grow. And that's where I've just kind of like kept that mindset where it's just like, I'm just going to give him whatever I can right now and help as much as I can, so that like when we get to the point where it's like I have a specific role or things are a bit better, or there's something specific for me to like take over basically like the store, like I'm ready to step into that role and kind of grow from there. So that's kind of like how things have really like, my role has like shifted through as time has like changed. Yeah.
Do you feel, so I've gotten to experience a little bit of it now being with it, but how do you guys balance the friendship aspect and the business like partnership aspect, whereas you're working side by side? Is that where the conflicts, the things that we don't get to see or I haven't seen, other people watching haven't seen, how have you guys managed it? Have there been ugly moments? How have you moved forward from them if they've occurred?
I think like if we have really good foundation with our friendship, right? And I'm not a big like, when it comes to the business, I'm just super unemotional. Like, and on a friend-to-friend standpoint, like there's emotions involved, but like I feel like when you're just discussing the business, it just has to be like, this is not a friendship. This is just business conversation. And if you can determine that and like set that hard conversation, we've had it. I've told them before, we've sat down and I've been like, I need to have 2 conversations with you, one professional and one non-professional. Like, I've been like, in both of them, I'm pissed. So like, and it's just like, it is what it is. And that's just the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't even gotten anywhere. Like, this is just a start. We're talking like small bits of money and small bits of like decisions. I mean, to some people it's large, but like our goal is to be working at a large scale to where it's like, you know, like $1 million facility. So it's like, that's when decisions are bigger. This is almost like practice. So it's like, if we can't make it through this, at least we'll find out.
Yeah.
You know, so it's better now. But like, I don't think that it's as hard as people make it out to be. I think that you just need to be able to know, like, okay, this is a business conversation. I'm going into this without emotions. Like, we got to be able to be critical and analytical. I don't like the concept of like, oh, this is mine. Like, I'm going to make the end decision. But I also still have to always play that role, no matter how big it gets, at least until I let it go. You know what I mean? Like, it's the only way that makes sense. At some point, I hope to have like a board where like we can discuss things as a whole. And I value, you guys know more than anyone, like I value your guys' opinions. So like, it's not like I'm invalidating it, but at the end of the day, like there always has to be like a business relationship and a personal relationship. And the harder those lines are, I think the better it will be for both of us. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Colin, any input on that? Or
I mean, I wouldn't say that we've honestly had too many like issues from, you know, a friendship or business like crossover, I guess. I mean, part of it comes from like understanding your role. And I think that's in like any, like you can put it in a team sport, you can put it in any understanding. Like, you know, obviously like with the situation between us, like my role is to like work for him in some capacity. Like, you know, we could be best friends, you know, and that's totally fine. But like my role is doing what needs to be done for like him and for Asylum. So it's like, when it comes to that stuff, again, I try to not be like personal about it because it's just like, this is what needs to get done for the business or this is what I need to do. And honestly, like a lot of the stuff I've even done is like without him asking. Like there's really not like much asking from his end. So I feel like that's kind of like been a good thing in that fashion where he like sees that like I am willing to like put my own time and like effort into this without like someone being like, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that like all the time. I mean, we've had tough conversations. I mean, we just had a tough conversation the other day, but it really just comes down to, again, like separating that personal and like, you know, professional sides of things. I mean, we hang out all the time still outside of here. And I feel like we do have like business conversations outside of here, but I also think that like when we're not here, it's not like the sole focus of our relationship.
Yeah. I think it's more so when we're outside of here, it's like ideas. Like we sit on his deck in the backyard. And we talk about like 5 years from now, like 10 years from now, like where we would like to be and what we want to do.
The vision stuff comes from like us hanging out more like outside of here. And when it's like here, again, it's like, you know, my role is his licensed assistant. Like I just have to help with whatever it is. Yeah, it just becomes more business from that standpoint. And obviously like our office is very free flowing and very like relaxed, you know, in terms of comparing it to other doctors' offices and things like that. So like, I think that's created an environment that's like allowed us to kind of keep the friendship part of it there, keep things like cool while we still maintain like that professional, like those professional lines and when things need to be like done this way or done that way, or like we need to be better about this or better about that. But yeah, like I said, it's definitely a balance for sure, but I would say we do a pretty good job of like maintaining that balance. I also do think that we're both from personality standpoints, like we're good at understanding ourselves as individuals and like how we kind of function with each other. And I do also think that like if we both just need like space, like we just kind of like take that time and space to ourselves. It's not like we don't like try to force something or try to like make it this whole thing where it's like, you know, if we hung out here all day and like we hang out later, that's cool. Or if we're like here all day and then like he's got to go home to do his thing and I go home to do my thing, it's like, that's cool too. Like it's not like we don't get like, I feel like pressed about it that way where it's like, you know, when you spend all day with somebody, sometimes you don't want to spend like the rest of the day with that person. But I don't think that there's times where I think things are like, let's say the tension is there or whatever, I think we both just do a good job of like stepping back and decompressing from it versus it becoming like
anything more
an issue at that point.
We don't
in time
force the conversation to address it. We'll let the emotions like die down and just be like, all right, we'll come back and cool off and be like, are we good? Just go from there.
We kind of touched on that last night when you were painting the wall over there, where we were saying like it's not necessarily that I have a positive or negative feeling about it. It's more just I kind of am aware of the situation, and I'm not going to create a false narrative that doesn't have to be there around it. Or, like you guys said, it's kind of that moment of like you're
Not like us. We were talking about something else.
Yeah,
the same, like you're describing
but
it
it's
the same
just
way.
how you're handling those things is
Yeah.
obviously like important, and that's where the biggest thing is people. From my perspective, like playing a team sport my whole life, like I've had to deal with like a lot of constructive criticism and like coaching and that stuff. So like I enjoy like learning or being like not told what to do, but like if you're going to teach me how to do something, like I respond well to that versus like, there's also coaches that go about things like where they're just always on you about something or yelling at you and this and that. And that's not like what our dynamic is. It's very, again, like cordial, friendly, like professional, but like we still talk about things like we're boys, and which obviously we are. So that's where it's like, it's a good it's a good relationship from that standpoint. And again, like taking constructive criticism or taking things that like I need to be better about is something that like I'm used to doing. So that's where it's like I just take it as like reflection. This is what I need to be better. I'm very self-aware too. Like in terms of self-awareness, like if I feel like I know I'm in a bad mood or I know I'm in this place or I know that, it's like I'm aware of those things. Sometimes he's better at like, yo, you need to like correct this or you need to be better about it. But it's like at the same time we have like that understanding again where it's like, there's times and places for certain conversations and certain things. And like, we're both very good, I feel like, at managing those like situations.
I do want to pause you there because my next question was going to be, I want you for Umar and then obviously you to Collin, what would you say are each other's strengths? And if you're willing to offer them up, what are some weaknesses more importantly? Because I think being able to call out the weaknesses for each other and improve upon them are extremely important.
Well, I think he just said it. Like, he's really good at taking constructive criticism. As I've told clients of mine when I was starting this side of the things, and they're like, "Are you sure you want to, go into business with a friend, or are you sure you want to do this with a friend?" And I was like, he's really good at constructive criticism. I was like, that's something a lot of people suck at. You know what I mean? Him coming from a very sports background where it was always like on a team. I feel like for me, regardless of sports, I did play individual-based sports, but for me, I've always been just I'll do it myself, I'll get it done as on that level. So like, initiative for me is a very big thing, whereas I know, like he said, he likes being told to a certain extent of like what to do, so it allows him to reflect. I've always just kind of figured it out on my own. That's just my personality. But I'd say constructive criticism is his biggest strong suit, because if you can take that well, you can improve very quickly, whereas other people take shit personally, and unfortunately it could go badly. I mean, if I was going to go like weakness, I'd say
attitude.
Yeah. I think his emotions can. And I think what's hard with business is that when you walk through the door of your business or somebody else's business, like it has to be gone entirely.
I can relate that with healthcare and nursing.
It doesn't matter how bad your day is. You got to do what you got to do.
You put on that smile.
And with us specifically, right, yours is like a nurse in a hospital. People are coming because they need to be there. They need help. Even if you weren't in a good mood, you get to do what you get to do and you get paid, right? Yeah. Where we're a cash-based service and people are paying high-level money, if they walk in and we're not in a good mood, that's awful. You know what I mean? Like if I was going to go somewhere and drop $300 and I walked in and people were bitchy, I'd be like, there's no way I'm ever coming back. I would actually leave a bad review, and I don't even leave reviews. You know what I mean? But that's where you have to be super careful. I know my weaknesses for sure.
I was going
to say to tack on to like the weaknesses thing, obviously that we talk about in terms of like attitude and things like that. I would say one of my like other strengths is like turning it on and off towards like people that I know, like I can't show that stuff to. Like if it comes in the office, like even if I'm not in like a great mood, like the customer service like face or act, like I'm very good at like putting that on to like address the situation at hand. And then like even if I'm still like annoyed about things or whatever, like I'm pretty good at like shifting. But that's something that like even just again, like as I move forward with the store, move forward with Asylum, things like that, like that is something that I know I need to be like better about from that standpoint. But again, like, from strengths and weaknesses from like his end, I mean, strengths, obviously like just the vision in itself, like the ability to like kind of create, that's something that is, a strength, for something, and I mean, his ability to work is, basically unmatched. So like, it really comes down to like, the vision paired with like the amount of work that gets put into that stuff is like a huge strength, because there's a lot of people that even people that have vision or people that have work, they don't do both, or they're only going to do one portion of it. And then it's like, a lot of people start businesses. A lot of people don't work 100-hour weeks. So even though they start businesses, it's like, oh, I mean, look at it. We're in 3 years in and we're in our third place. Like, he could be 3 years in and still only have that one office.
Yeah.
Like realistically speaking.
And I said that,
and
to
that's
Chad
most
too.
doctors' offices, you know, it's just the reality of it. Like most people, they get to the certain point and it's like, he could have just been like, yeah, I'm a chiro, this is my office. And like, we could have just he could be 3 years in on that and still just running it like that, you know, but it's a matter
That does
of,
make me like wonder, like if we had done that, like what, like we
what it would look at.
because our overhead would be so little because it would only
Yeah.
be one unit. And then if you would come in and still, because you could have still done your thing.
Yeah.
And then that would have cut the overhead in half.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about it. I mean, but that mindset of like not giving up and continuously working, or just
The next
even
step.
if we work, I mean, he'll work a full 8-hour day and then, you know, come in here and paint for 3 hours. So it's just like, you know, he's putting in an 11-hour day where like most people don't want to put in the 8-hour day that they're paid to do. So it's like, you know, that's definitely a strength. I would say like weaknesses in terms of his just ability to not, I'm trying to think of the word, like not direct, but like he understanding that like, you know, he is like the head of this thing. And like, sometimes things do need to be kind of just like put out this way, and this is how it needs to be done, and this, like things like that.
Managing.
But again, yeah, managing, being a boss. Yeah, you know, it's just being a boss from that standpoint. And it's not to say you have to be like a boss that goes like, oh, this is how things need to be done, or this is whatever. Like it can always be like an open conversation, and obviously, but at the same time, he is the boss. So like, and there's times where I think he has stepped up and like, you know, addressed situations, whether it was with me or with somebody else or just business in general, where it's like, okay, I had to like step up and like, obviously I'm the boss, like I need to like do this. Or it's times where it's like, you know, things just kind of like free flow. But I wouldn't say that they're like true weaknesses or anything like that. But it's just, like I said, from that standpoint,
Things that could be improved upon,
Yeah.
essentially.
I mean, honestly,
it's a new one for me. You know what I mean? I've done all the other stuff where like, whether it was leading or whatever it may be, like guiding people to a certain thing. Like I've always done that, or like taught or been the leader of stuff. But in terms of being a boss, it's like different. It's very different. It's a territory that I've obviously have never been in before. So like learning it while growing the business, I think is like so challenging. It's not just one business, it's multiple now. Whereas I think so many people, like you said, if we were just in the clinic and I could strictly focus on the clinic and just being a boss, I think I would definitely be better at it in 3 years. But like over those 3 years, I've had to learn how to create that, learn how to create this, and now in this, we're learning how to create this, which is retail. It's a market that none of us have ever been in.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm still trying to improve on being a boss, which I know, and I've always said like I'm not good at that. Like I tell people that all the time, and it's not in the sense that I'm a bad person. It's just it's a role that has skill sets that I don't have.
it's hard. I mean, you have to be able to, again, with our situation, like being, you know, friends, we're the same age, like everybody that we work with is the same age. So like when you think about bosses, like you think about like, oh, some 40, 50-year-old guy, that's like your boss, like he's your elder, like, you know, you're some 25-year-old kid, you don't know anything, like he's going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, that is not the dynamic that we have. Like, you know, between me and him, we're 10 days apart in a year. So it's like, you know, it's the same thing.
Still
so
older.
it's like, you know, so it's like from my standpoint, like I could look at it and be like, you know, why am I listening to him? Like he's 10 days older than me. Like, you know, but again, his experience and like his willingness to, you know, take those risks and put himself in that position is why he's in like the role that he's in. And, you know, the decisions that he's made to go to school and all that stuff is like put him in this position. So like he's done the work to be the boss, even though it's not like the same dynamic that you would think of in like most cases, but it just takes time. Again, it really technically has like 1.5 employees because like Brad is, you know, full-time now, you know, to some degree or whatever. And I'm like still like in and out of things. So it's like, again, from our standpoint, it's like most of the things that I do from a day-to-day standpoint in the office are just like little things, taking care of behind the scenes things. And then again, like helping with the patients. So like in terms of having to manage me, like it's not as much as like he'll probably have to do with Brad over time in terms of like teaching him more and keeping that stuff in order and like making sure that he's doing the right thing for the clients, because again, like that's filtering under him now. So it's like that role was obviously still growing. So it's a matter of like, you know, he hasn't had to be the boss until like
Now.
mostly recently.
Yeah.
And even now, like with the store, like, you know, our ownership and things like that, like it's just a matter of like, I'm still going to have to like report to him in some degree of like, this is how the business is doing. This is how things are going. So it's like, and then if he says, okay, we need to be better about this or whatever, like, that's just how it's going to be. It is what it is. You know, that's the part of being, you know, business owners and whatever facet. But again, I think the age thing is like something that like most people don't think about. Like, most bosses you think about who run companies, again, 30, 40, 50-year-old guys versus like you have two 28-year-old guys, you know, you're, what are you, 26? Yeah, 26, exactly. So, you know, most of the people that we work with are the same age as us. So it's sometimes it's hard to keep that, you know, I'm in charge dynamic in some capacity, but it's just a matter of like time and practice, I think, is really what would it come? And then it's probably the same thing over some time. Like I'm going to be the boss of somebody that has to work in the store. Like I don't really have any true,
That's kind of what I was going to mention.
I don't really have any like true boss experience or whatever. So like I have to gather like as much as I can from him so that like the next, when we bring someone in that like technically works under me, like I can facilitate being a boss to them as like best as I know how, basically, so that things can continue to run and grow, so that when we have a full-scale wellness center and him and I are at the top and we have 50 people that work under us, like we got to be able to manage like all those people. But it takes time. I mean, it's 3 years in, three units in, and
say a lot of growth.
This is where we're at. You know, the growth, exactly, and that's where it's growth. Right now, the growth might seem a little more, you know, not as deep, but across. So, you know, we're growing, we're expanding, but like pretty soon, again, like with the foundation we've built with the Asylum, you know, with the office, the Cairo office, and where we're at, you know, moving forward with the gym and where we're at moving forward with the supplement store, like the plan is there, the moves are there, you know, we're in a position for things to like continue to grow and move from that standpoint. So it's just a learning process is really like what it comes down to over time.
Yeah, no, I will say, and you must have read my mind, because I was going to say to you, like, do you ever kind of look to him? Like, even from my end, I think obviously being a little bit different, like obviously I just work alongside you guys. We all have a great dynamic, but seeing his mistakes, I'm using for my own, and you mentioned it the same way where you're like, when I have employees at the supplement store, I'm kind of in the same boat. And now you put that whole dynamic for me where it's like, I'm soon looking to have an NP on, and she's older than me. So it's like,
yeah, it's an interesting dynamic.
It's like, I didn't even think about it. And now I'm like, yeah, that's just another thing that it's like, okay, there's that boundary of how do I play around that? But I've definitely, like you said, just kind of seeing what he's doing, learning from his mistakes, or even not even mistakes, but also good things that he's doing, where I'm like, what qualities does he have that I like, as far as how he's, you know, being like the more of that boss role, and so that I can implement that in a way myself. So that's kind of what I was going to ask, but you already hit the nail on the coffin. I want to backtrack a little bit and touch on your guys' conversations when you were outside of the clinic talking about the larger scale vision. Where did the vision start? How has it progressed? And what does it look like currently for you guys as what you want?
When we first got the place, I think we actually like joked about like, because the plaza was empty. So there was no smoke shop, there was no her. Like literally when the first 4 weeks, there was nobody else except us. And we were like, damn, it would be sick if we had this half this whole plaza. Like we said it then. Like I remember in the first 4 weeks, and we were like, this would be dope. Then obviously 4 weeks later, she shows up, ruins my dream. And then he comes, and I'm like, this is insane. And like obviously we're just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. But the goal was always large scale. Let's see what we can do here. This is a test run in terms of, can we actually scale it to the level that we want? Can we build something tangible and go from there? We want to build obviously a huge gym. There's a building 5 minutes from here that I've been looking at least for 7 years. We want to scale it. So we have the clinic, we have like the private gym, and then now we have the supplement store, which essentially we can expand on all of them realistically. If the smoke shop leaves, we can scale that, upgrade the gym, move to a tier-based subscription model for our services, all of it. And then when the art studio like decides to go, we can expand our medical space, have more offices, have more services, other practitioners come here, and then it becomes a true wellness center that has like the medical offices, the clinic, the gym, the supplement store. And realistically, if that never gets taken, who knows what we could do with that. I don't think I have plans on anything for that. Once we're established with those 5 here, we can then large scale and go to something like big. And after our conversations with homeboy today, like that was like insane. After stuff like conversations like that, like maybe we're not as far as I think, you know.
And so I guess that would be my question, is how do you feel for both of you? How do you feel you guys have changed through the process, as far as personalities, your visions, your goals, your tolerance for risk, those types of things all included? From when you first started and you were like, holy shit, I am literally spending the last little bit of money I have to put down the deposit, versus now you're talking about, this is easy, we're going to scale, move, and once we do 2 more places, with the proof of concept is there to go large scale. So where were you in the beginning, and where are we at now?
I was scared to spend like $200-300 in the beginning. I remember that. Now my risk tolerance is like, I don't want to say non-existent, because there's people on like the $1 billion level, But in terms of where I was,
Relatively.
who I thought I was, now, like, I don't even think about the cost of things half the time. And it's not because like I have the money or anything like that. It's more so just I know I can make money. Where like that's not the hard part. You know what I mean? And it's not that it's even a lot of money, but it's like I'll figure it out. And I think that's the one thing that I've learned throughout this whole process is one, risk tolerance truly is a real thing, and you build it. It gets less scarier to a certain extent. And that throughout the whole process, I was like, I'll figure it out. Like I'll always figure it out. Honestly, now I get a little bit more challenged by everybody else, which is one of the newer things where I'm like, okay, I'm taking so many opinions into consideration compared to when I first started, I wasn't. And it was almost like borderline easier to a certain extent. And now I have to factor in a lot. I think sometimes now I might take too many opinions into consideration, and that stresses me out, which is like very like a flip flop. That's not what I expected to happen. So I will say that was easier before. Now risk taking is just a lot easier. I think my personality, and I don't know, you guys can speak on this. I don't think my personality has really changed at all. I will say my tolerance for bullshit has definitely changed a little bit now. But aside from that, I think I'm the same person to a certain extent.
Yeah, I don't think from a personality perspective, at least from my side. I mean, obviously, Colin could speak a little bit more on that, just being so close to you day to day. From what I remember, just like meeting you, you know, back at the basement days. Personality wise, I don't see any change. I think, like you said, more from a maturity standpoint, from a business standpoint, from picking and choosing your battles with relationships. From that side, how do you guys feel like for both of you? Do you have any issues with supporting cast, like your family members kind of buying into your dreams? Have either of you dealt with? I mean, I know obviously I know from your side, even from Colin, like I don't know you know, I mean that's a big thing to kind of be like, hey mom, hey dad, or whatever, you know, whatever your situation is, being like, I'm gonna leave Texas in college and I'm gonna kind of after a little bit of helping Umar, I think I'm just gonna be the supporting cast to see the larger vision.
I mean, my mom's always been like supportive of the decisions that I made. I mean, growing up in like a single mother household, like obviously she's worked, you know, 1 to 2 jobs like a majority of my life. So like a lot of the decisions I've had to make in my life are like my own decision to some degree. Like even when I've had to make decisions about like where I was going to go to school or what I was going to do about, you know, what I was going to go to school for and, you know, baseball stuff and all that kind of stuff. Like a lot of those are decisions that like I've had to just make. And then like, but she's always been someone that's like, supported me. She always she'll play devil's advocate about things, you know, as most parents would, you know, they'll bring up, you know, this side of things or that side of things, but she's never been like, oh, you know, I don't think this is a good idea or anything. Like she's always been supportive of that. I mean, with coming back from like school, like I finished school and like when I started my master's, you know, I was there for the year to start my master's, and then it just kind of things on that end from school kind of just stopped working out because of different, you know, variables and things like that. But since coming home, I mean, in terms of how I feel about things with the business and things like that has been different. It's always different for me because like I don't have future, I'll have it more invested, but like I don't have anything really invested other than like my time and effort. So like from my perspective, it's always easier for me to sit back and be like, oh, like it's not that I see the stress, like I see what goes into it. I understand like all the background of it. But it's always easier for me to just be like, you know, we'll be good or you'll be good. Like, it'll be cool. Cause like, it's not, the weight is not really on me.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, I try to do my best. And just, again, that's why like support and just being at the office as much as I have, like, regardless of money or things like that, is because like, I see the vision again. I see what he's trying to do. I want to be a part of it in like whatever facet and degree that is like involved in. And that's where it's like, again, for me, it's always been a little bit more of like, I'm trying to keep him like, almost calm about things and like, yo, like things are going to be good, like we'll be good or it'll work out or whatever, because again, like it's easier from my perspective when the weight's not on me. But from his perspective, like, you know, he is right in terms, I don't think he's changed personality wise really. I think he's like somebody who has like stayed pretty true to like who he is. Obviously you know you have to grow like rougher edges and things like that as you get, you know, deal with life stuff, you know, business stuff, like those things just kind of like, you know, again, it makes you rough around the edges about some things, but it's not a matter of, I don't think he's changed as a person. I think he's had to, again, shrink the circle to make sure that there's not things or people that are like pulling away from it over time. But I think that's like with anything, honestly. I mean, you look at the top high level athletes, like they don't have, you know, tons and tons of people around them. Mostly it's like 1 or 2 people that they kind of like listen to. And then everybody else are just kind of voices and noises in the background. And there might be times where you like, you know, take an opinion of somebody that you wouldn't say is in like your inner circle just because you cross paths and you have a conversation or something like that. And they do have like some true value, but there's also that ability to like filter through like what's actually useful information and like what isn't. And I think he's very good at like taking into account the word of people who are like where we strive to be, I guess, and versus like kind of like cutting out the stuff that's like, you know, you don't really, not to say people don't know what they're talking about, but like a lot of people just don't, and they just assume this and that, and it's things like that. And I mean, in terms of the vision, like where we've talked about, like we want 5 units in 5 years. You know, we're in 3 units in 3 years. Again, if the smoke shop, you know, their lease comes to an end, and the art studio, their lease comes to an end, like we are right on track for 5 units in 5 years. And that's like, to have that, again, like he said, it really builds like a small scale model of like what we want to do, like large scale. And we talked about, you know, that building, or, you know, we've looked at other buildings. I mean, we went and looked at a 10,000 square foot facility. I don't even know. It was probably last February or something like that. Year and a half ago, probably. Yeah, I think it was like last February or something like that. But we went to look at a 10,000 square foot facility, and like if we had $500,000 like somebody would have given us, we would have already been in done. Like for it was crazy. It would have been a year and a half plus. It was the perfect space. It had offices in front. There was 3 or 4 separate offices. It had a full like cubicle center in the middle, kitchen, you know, full bathroom, showers kitchen, and everything, and then a full 8,000 square foot warehouse
and an outdoor section,
and a whole outdoor section,
a basketball court.
We could have put
like
anything
turf,
out there.
anything.
And it was 30 seconds down the road basically. So like I said, I mean, if we had the funding and like if we knew the financial stuff we know now, maybe we could have moved some things around or whatever. But that's still the long-term goal, is like if we can manage this, you know, small scale model of it, just taking the same thing that we're doing and just try to putting it into a larger scale facility, but keeping that same private feel is like the number one thing for the vision. That's what we've always talked about. Because what's the number one complaint of most people at gyms? They don't like all the people that go there. Yeah. Like it becomes a scene. People film now, they do all this stuff. I don't have any issues with people filming and stuff in the gym, but there's always ways to be appropriate about it and inappropriate about it. And all the other antics. And all the other antics that come across it. I mean, like what we have right now is a very small private facility with 15 members maybe we have for the gym side, and you know, there's never more than like 2 to 3 people in there max. Like everybody gets their stuff in. It's very cordial. Like everybody's very cool. So it's like if we can take that same thing with, you know, obviously more people over time, but create that same environment where like people are friendly. It's a cordial environment. People are always respectful of others. Like that's almost unmatched in like the gym name. So like it's just a matter of like if we can create something based off of the model that we have, I think it'll be something that most people didn't even think of or couldn't think of, and just again like to put it into practice, like it'll just be something that most people have never experienced or anything like that. And that's like the true vision. I mean, we've talked 7 to 10 years was our estimate to get into the full scale facility. If we can get 5 units in 5 years here and probably ride that out for a year to see obviously that the financials continue to like line up, or again, with how, you know, things that he's learned about financials over time, and, you know, conversations that he's had with people, and then people that want to invest, like it might be faster and sooner than that, but it's just a matter of like making those right decisions and in time, because again, like there's only one him, there's only one of me. And it just comes down to like the fact that like, we can't have him die because he's trying to run 10 businesses at the same time. Like it's just the reality of the situation. Like the stress levels are high enough, and the amount of work that he has to do on a day-to-day basis, like that stuff still has to get done. So it can't be like in such a rush. I mean, even when we open the store in October, it's going to be probably like a 6 month to a year of like not really growing or expanding from a business perspective, because we're on pause because of the other people in this plaza, and it's just the reality of it. So like it'll probably be good for, you know, his mental, just to be able to kind of find a space where it's like, all right, you know, we can kind of chill here for a minute, let's see how everything continues to develop, and then like when it's time, and even with financials and things like that, you know, we just talked about the other day, like money is opening up more based off of the loans and stuff that he's paid off. So like we could have even more revenue than we've really been working with. And at that point, once that stuff starts rolling in and the store is rolling, like it could be 6 months and we'd be like, all right, we're ready to go. We could go full scale right off the bat, depending on, you know, how financials and things like that line up. So it's just a matter of like kind of time and just seeing how things like really play out. And then again, connections, networking, which like he's done an incredible job of, and the people that we've had like walk in through our doors, like, you know, just people you would never expect to like come through the doors have literally changed like his life, you know, they've changed my life. Even just that having that conversation earlier that we just had, like financials, it's like, wow, it's like
extremely unique.
it really,
people that
like,
come
you
through
know,
the door.
it's crazy. I mean, and that's what, you know, when you think about like the model that we've created, if you took that model, if you took those people and you put them in the regular Cairo model, you would never know any of those things.
Yeah,
they walk in and out in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Anybody could walk through your door and you have no idea other than like, oh, how was your day? What's wrong with your back? I cracked it, and you're gone. Like all of this comes from the model that's built. You know, it's based off of spending 60 to 90 minutes with people, sometimes numerous times a week.
Yeah,
like,
you're building
conversations
extreme
come
rapport.
up. It's everything.
I mean, it's full blown relationship at that point.
Everything that we do from a business perspective is based on the experience. Like that's what the fish tank was for. It's like fish tank serves no monetary value.
No,
like it doesn't have
but
any.
I mean,
but people
dude, from
fucking love it.
I would
Dude.
say the existence of you guys putting that in
Oh.
every time. So, like, it is one of
People
those.
always
We
comment
talk
on it.
about that with where we were talking about like the in-body scan at the other places, and all those things. Like, there's key things for you guys. That's one of those things where it's like such an easy, stupid marketing
Every
tool
time-
because they come in, you sit in the sauna, and it's like, how do I not enjoy the fish? Like,
Yeah.
I was equal. I've done it a few times when I was just like
I
coming
go by
in.
and just look.
Yeah, it's like, how do you
time,
not?
Every time we bring a new person in, they see the original office, or they see now. Obviously, now like the waiting room is your office, so like it's a little different than when it originally was. Originally, it was just kind of like a useless space. I mean, we probably had like. In the
used to
year,
sleep in there.
In the year,
Yeah, I know,
I was
yes,
going
I
to say, we probably took more naps on the couches in there than people sat on there waiting. Like, because we never have more than we never have more than 1 or 2 people in, like in the building, kind of at the same time. So it's just not based off the the appointments and things like that. They don't overlap. Like there's really not like that much need for the waiting room. So that's why like we created a little waiting room. So people see that now. There's a little coffee stand. Like they like the initial experience. They see the office and they're like, oh, this is really nice. But like as soon as you open the door to go through the kitchen and to the back and they see like the lights, the fish tank, the sauna, the cold plunge, people are like, holy shit. They're like, yo, this is crazy. And the first thing people say every time, they're like, oh my God, I love the fish tank. Like
Every time.
as soon as you walk in the back for the first time, that's the first thing anybody says. And it's just a matter of like, again, what's that fish tank cost us? A couple $1,000 total with, all the supplies and the fish that have been put in it or whatever, and maintain it over the time, things like that. Yeah, you have to learn, RIP, pour one out for the homies. But again, it's about creating a genuine experience every time somebody walks in that door. And it's like, you don't get that at most doctors' offices. People hate that.
Yeah, it's cold.
They
It's
hate
dry.
them. They just don't want
miserable.
it. Think about your times you've spent sitting in like the waiting room somewhere. It's like, oh my God, like, is this over? And besides the fact that,
they waited 50 minutes for a vaccine.
I mean, even just regular doctor's appointments, how many times do you go to the doctor, you have a 2:15 appointment, they don't see you till 2:30, 2:40.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting there just waiting, and it's like you're literally just sitting there standing. And even now, if somebody comes to see us, like if they wait 10 extra minutes, like they're in an environment
I would say
that's
nobody
completely
cares.
different.
Yeah.
Nobody
Nobody
says
cares.
anything about it.
Yeah.
And again, we don't really ever have issues about punctuality or things like that, but it's just a matter of like the experience that when people walk in for the first time or the 100th time, like think about the people that we have that come in consistently. Like they wouldn't come in consistently if it wasn't a true experience every single time. Because what happens with people too is things get stale. Think about from the gym perspective. You go to a new gym, they have this new fancy equipment. In 2 weeks, when this equipment stops working and nobody's there anymore and it just like dies out, then it just dies out. Yeah. But like now look at it as we have people that have been coming to us for 3 years for the same stuff every single time they come in. Like it obviously works and it's a genuine experience, and the relationships that have been built, those things are what sustain like the business. It's not like, oh, we have this new toy or we have all these new amenities. It's like, it's those genuine relationships, the time spent and all of the work that goes into it, and people that actually understand things, like they see that. Yeah. And once they see that stuff, like that's where they're in. Like that's what you get them in. And then that's why I said, if we get anybody in the door, like I think it's a wrap personally. Yeah. Like, and it's sometimes it's hard to get people in the door. Pricing is pricing. Like people look at that stuff and sometimes it deters them. But I think people that truly understand the value of their money and what they're going to spend with us versus what they're going to do chasing around answers somewhere else. Like, you spend $150, $300 with us for an hour, 90 minutes. Like you could walk out and never be in pain again. Like it's genuinely possible. We've had people that came in for plantar fasciitis, couldn't walk without pain. Guy went over a year without ever dealing with pain again. Like from one session. Like that guy was able to go on a trip to Disney with his kids and do all this stuff because of him working on his feet for 60 minutes. Yeah. And he went over a year without pain. So it's like, I think that's worth, $300 to $150. Like
easily.
A whole change. You can genuinely change someone's life. Yeah. And we have people that come in with herniated discs that can barely walk. they come out, they're touching their toes. Like, how can you say that the model and all that stuff like isn't all of it combined is what creates like what we've made?
Everything.
Like, it's everything. It's not just like one side or this or that, but him, you know, the facility, the work, you know, the educate, everything. It just comes together for like, this is like what we've created. And I think it's just a model that's, again, it's not something that's been produced elsewhere. And I don't know without him. And that's why people have asked us about like opening other facilities. Like, the issue with trying to open another facility is there's only one of him. And it's like trying to find another doctor that's willing to sacrifice and spend the amount of time and effort and not make much at all, probably at first, like to build something that like we've built larger. They don't want to do it. People don't want to do it.
I do want to touch on that. Obviously, I think both of you, like we've been discussing throughout, I think both of you do a very good job with your people skills, how you make people feel welcome. But I want to isolate Umar for a minute, I think because of some of the experiences that you touched on for him, kind of filtering out the BS for people listening, both I think from a business and interpersonal relationship standpoint, would be beneficial to them. Walk us through your experience with learning to filter out the noise, deal with relationships, kind of that whole experience that we talked about, like figuring out who are the people that, you know, mean well, who are the people that are just in it because they love what they see. Walk us through that.
I think Caesar said something during the summit about...
Caesar is the owner of Clean Plate Meal Prep. They have 2 locations, one in Woodbury, one in Blackwood. Definitely go check them out. Quick plug.
And they'll have their food here, so wait for
at
that.
Asylum Natural Health Supplements.
I was gonna say, I don't know what to say, so that's my guy. But no, Caesar said this awesome thing where he was like, I think everybody should work in restaurants. And I think that's where I get my people skills from. Like, my first job's always, well, I started off as a gas attendant, like, you know, 7th grade or something.
We actually used to study for anatomy exams while he would sit and do
at the gas station. We'd be
In
outside.
7th grade?
Yeah, we'd be sitting outside, like on that, like 2 cheap chairs and a table with anatomy books, and we'd be sitting, and a car would pull up. I'd be like, all right, I'll be right back. And I'd go, I'd fill up gas, and I'd come back. Yeah. I remember being out there during the winter time, and there was one of those like boxes that didn't have heating, but I sold lighters. I would literally keep my hands warm, like just like this, bro. Dude, it was insane. I couldn't believe it, but I had to pay for things, so I was like, I gotta work. It was 2 minutes from my house. I could just walk home.
Yeah.
And my brother did it before me, so it's very generational.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but I was like, am I wrong for saying stereotypical?
But yeah, dude, like then my first like real job was serving, and I got to work like really, really high-end weddings. I think you did a wedding with us like once or twice. Yes, no?
Once, yeah.
But we used to cater all over South Jersey. I did at least over 150 weddings, like with the time that I catered, and I even worked my way up to manager. Where I had that issue one time where like it was all of us. Literally, me and my closest buddies at the time were running this entire company. So they were like, one day we had 3 weddings at one time, and 2 of the managers were gone, and they were like, Umar, you're in charge. And I'm like, I'm 20 years old. Like, not even. I think at the time I was like 18 or 19. I was like, and you want me to boss around other 18, 19? Some people were like 30.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. I was like, no one's going to take me seriously. Like, thank God the wedding ended early because the bride fell and hit her head. So it was just like, I didn't have to manage anything.
Thank God the bride's special day was ruined.
Yeah.
But doing that, and then when I went to grad school, I did fine dining. So you've learned to work with every personality, and in food, you are never right.
Oh,
like
dude.
in other industries, you can go back and forth, but with food, like it just ruins so much, and like your ability to keep that job is just so unlikely. So I hate saying it, but I learned how to kiss ass with the right people. Because you got to get tips off your service. And I learned how to work with every different type of human being, rich, poor, whatever. I just did so much in food that it taught me how to work with people. Now, when, like Collin said, when we don't know what walks through our doors, I've had some insane people to the outside world, nobodies. But like in terms of what they've accomplished, like I'm talking top 1%ers that like most people would never meet in their life. And it's like very unique of learning how to work with them. I say this a lot, like I actually now feel when I work with like a low level person, and that can mean, it's not a negative comment. I just mean somebody that's just on a different wavelength. Or when I work with somebody on a very high wavelength, like I feel my performance like waver. Like the work is always the same, and I can always provide the same quality of work for the person, but how I feel afterwards is what's different. Like there are certain people that make me feel a certain type of way where I'm like that energy, whatever it is. And I'm not talking like, ooh, like Crystal's energy. Like I'm just, how I feel is very different. Like today I trained a client and I was like, whoa, I haven't felt that in a while. And it was just like very unique. But over time, dude, like you see like people want to rub elbows for certain reasons, or you see like, okay, this person's all like this and that. Like Colin said, like I listen to everyone and everyone's opinion is valid. I wholeheartedly believe that. I just will be very selective of what I take away from it. It doesn't matter who you are, because I can learn from anybody. I can learn from a kid. And I have, like I've taken things away from like literally kids where I'm like, damn, like I lost that part about myself and I relearn it. But at the same time, like there's some people that will give me advice and I'm like, what have you accomplished? Like you're telling me this crazy like idea and this and that and whatever. And then I'm like sitting there the entire time I'm thinking, but like, what's your like, if you know all this, why are you in the situation that you're in? And then there's the other side of it, where like Colin said before, where like I have certain clients that are feeding me game that I'm like, I couldn't buy this. Like I couldn't. I literally, like they would literally could sell their mentorships for like thousands, and I wouldn't be able to afford it because it's just so much money to give to all those people. You see the type of people that walk through our doors and that give us like information, like knowledge that I'm just like, this is knowledge that is literally like worth probably hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, without a doubt.
So it's like, and they're giving it to me for free, which all comes back to the whole thing.
Technically, they're paying you to give the advice because they're paying to come into the office.
That's what's crazy. But it all comes back to the model. Where like sometimes even I don't think about it that way. Like he can verbalize it almost better than I can.
He does a very good job articulating.
Well, he sees it. I'm in it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like, okay, you have a problem, I can fix it. I'm so much of like the hands-on person where like once again his skill set is other things. But the way he said it was, the model is what allows it. I've never even thought of it that way. I've never even thought of like, oh, because I have 60 to 90 minutes, I built these relationships. Because to me, like I would have built the relationships regardless. That's just who I am as a person. But he's right. Like you could have crazy people going into a typical chiro office, but they're one of 40 people that was seen in the last 30 minutes. You would have no idea who it is.
Yeah.
So if I ever went down that way, like it just wouldn't be worth it. Whereas now, like doing it the way that I've done it, like the network and the connections, the relationships, dude, they're priceless. I mean, if you wanted to put a price on it, it'd be literally hundreds of millions in terms of what those people have accomplished.
Yeah. I mean, even today, just that conversation.
Yeah, that conversation today has me like blown away.
But it's like all the time. And I think just seeing that was something for me. I mentioned that with Chaz yesterday where I was just like, there was a switch when I got in here. And I said, I've mentioned this to you before, where it was like, I thought I was doing a good amount.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
And it like in the best way, like it, like you said, it gave that, like it elicited that feeling, whatever it is, however you want to describe it. And I was just like, it made it so different where it's like old me would have looked at me now and been like, I never am doing that. There's no way I'm working as consistently as you are, working at the hospital 2-3 days a week, bouncing to the clinic, managing, relationships with family and friends. And it's because of all of the insight that I've gotten from the people that you guys have brought into the clinic and seeing what they can do. Just that extra motivation to be like, it's, if they can do it, why the fuck can't I?
Yeah.
And it's definitely been awesome to see. What, moving forward, any fears? What do we got? What are we nervous for? What are we excited for with the supplement shop opening up? Where are we looking to grow more in the short scale?
I think the only fear that I have now is that there's somebody else's responsibility. It's always been like, felt the responsibility of like, yo, my homie's in this with me, even before there was financial involvement. Like I'm like, like he said, it doesn't weigh on him, but it's still time. And I look at that as like very valuable. So like that responsibility, I've always felt that regardless. I'm just like, shit, like this person's giving me their time. It's not just this person, like this is literally like my brother at the end of the day, like putting in all this time and like years. So like, it's a lot. And I think that is the only fear is like that's new, where I'm like, okay, now there is financial involvement and like more time. So it's like, it has to work, And like, I think the no plan B thing is a very like real thing anyway. I've actually, like I told him today, I was like, I've already thought about, I wholeheartedly believe this is going to succeed. And I've already thought about like where to put the next store. So like the fear is like almost diminishing. Like as we're accomplishing this, like I told him the other day, I was like, that was a good win. Like getting the ceiling done, like was like I don't know if you felt that way, but I felt like a tangible relief where I'm like,
it, honestly.
Because it was getting to a point where like, okay, like shit's happening, but it's not.
Yeah.
And like so much is coming up where we're like, okay, we got a lot coming up and we aren't getting this done. So it's like, what's going on? So I'd say that the only fear is that, but as we keep doing more and more, especially doing it together and like building more trust and like understanding, it's like the fear I think is diminishing, and I think it will for you too if there is any as you pursue your thing. But next step is literally obviously get this done, make sure it's successful, and if the smoke shop and the art studio aren't gone, like realistically, if we have an understanding and a grasp on this, and I said this to him even before we ever did the store, I think this will be the most easily franchisable aspect of all of Asylum. And it'll be very easy to kick this out and replicate it in other spots. Because once he has that understanding of how to teach and someone else to do it, after hopefully like 6 months, then he can move on somewhere else. So like, and this, like from a financial standpoint, really isn't like that crazy. And we can have people come in and look at it and be like, okay, cool, this is what you did. Like contractors, and I'd just be like, yeah, we need this replicated, and just get it done.
I want to put the spotlight on Collin now because you're more in my shoes, whereas Umar is kind of like you said. There's a level of pressure that you didn't have that Umar has always had, but now that pressure is definitely there for you a little more. You are an owner in a business. What are your fears, concerns? Do you have fears? What are you excited for?
I mean, him and I had kind of like talked about this the other day. I wouldn't say that I have like fears. I mean, obviously, like when you talk about financials and things like that, like there's always like fear of like, you know, I guess losing your money. Like, are you gonna, you know, what if it doesn't work? Obviously, but like I really have. When I look at again what we've built, the foundation that supports those two like units that we already have, you know, the Cairo office and the gym, like I've almost looked at it as like, how can this not work? Like I don't see it like not working. I just don't, between the location that we have, the services that we provide over there. I think the biggest thing that this actually brings us is foot traffic that we don't have any of. Because like the only way to get into the office is if you sign up for an appointment, like you have to pay to get in the door.
Getting the
and now like we have literally basically a storefront for those two places where it has its own service here. Obviously people can come here for their supplements and never set foot over there, and that's fine. Okay, like that's fine. But now I think it creates more of a talking point almost for just the day-to-day person, is to like come in here, they can look at the store, they can see all this, and when they realize like, okay, we have the same sign out front as those two units down there, like how is this all connected? How does this, and this should bring foot traffic to, you know, the store. So like when I look at it, or to the clinic, so when I look at it from that standpoint, like I look at it, it's like failure, I don't see that. Like I just don't see it as really as like an option. Like I said to him the other day, like my fear is like I want to do like a good job. Like I want the store to be successful. Like, and realistically for me, like this is going to be like my source of income. Like I need this shit to like work. Like, cause all the, you know, all the stuff that I've done previously, like coaching, all that stuff, like the money is good. All that stuff's been great. Like it's brought me great experiences. And even like he said about his first job, like working at the gas station, like my job almost my entire life is coaching. So like having to deal with young kids. I mean, I've coached kids from literally toddlers through college age athletes. So like to deal with the amount of personalities that I've had to deal with from like that perspective, but then you have to take into account, like he said, when you're in food, like you're never wrong. Think about having to deal with somebody's parents of like a kid. Like I have had so many parental conversations about like, you know, kids' performance or their actions or like all that type of stuff. Like to just be able to interact with like adults or just have genuine conversations that sometimes aren't like the easiest to have. Like I think that's a skill that's like I've really like developed well just over the amount of experience. I mean, I have 10 plus years of coaching experience. So like when you take that into account, like I can interact with people there. And when it comes into like, now we're going to have like, I'm going to be the face of the store, basically. Like again, I would say my fear is that like, I want to do a good job. But at the same time, like I just think if I just do the work that needs to be done with how things have already been over there, and like we continue to like really build on the marketing and all that stuff, like once we're in that position, like, and I just take care of the stuff that needs to get done, like I just think it'll just work. Like it's just kind of like where I look at it. I mean, and again, I think it'll be something that's more of like when it's actually here, like it'll be, you know, I'll feel it probably like a little bit differently, obviously. But it's just a matter of like, it almost doesn't seem like real at this point still. Even though, like I said, we're sitting in the unit, like I've done, you know, the amount of hours that we've already put in here between, you know, the two of us and whatever, and, you know, your help too, like, and his dad and all that stuff. Like, you know, we've put in, I don't know, probably 100+ hours at this point, each of us, I would say, between the time that we've spent in here, just, you know, getting things together or cleaning or this or that. And like, we're probably 65, 70% done right now. So, I mean, there's the amount of time that's going to add up over the next few weeks. And then again, once we're in the marketing stage and things are really starting to like grow out, I think that's when it'll start to like hit me more of like, okay, this is real. Like, this is where I'm like, this is my true like responsibility. Like I really need to like be on top of this stuff. But like, I don't like quitting for me is not like really like a thing realistically. And that just, again, I think that just comes from the sports background. Like I've had jobs that I've had to quit due to, whatever issues between my boss or different things like that. And I think that's just part of life. But even like learning how to like quit is almost like a skill in itself, and too, in terms of trying to like handle things properly and appropriately and like those things. So like you learn lessons from all those experiences, really. So that's why I don't think it's like, again, I don't really look at it as like a fear. It's just more of like, this is what we're doing. This is how it's going to be organized. Like this is, the financial side of things. This is the business side of things. This is like where things are at. And like, again, when we open the doors, it'll be like, all right, holy shit. Like, okay, I feel it like more, and that's fair. And like, but again, from your guys' perspective, like you're both business owners. So like you obviously feel it to a different capacity because, whether I am going to be a business owner, like I'm not in it every day.
You are. I don't want you to, I think you discredit yourself a little bit. You are. You have ownership in a business.
Yeah.
Like, I think, and that's, I can see where you come off that way now because it's, as you said, the difference is for this stage, technically you've already done that.
Yeah.
And that's why it doesn't feel real yet.
Yeah.
I will say, at least from my experience, I can kind of get that. I was nervous before, but I wasn't really nervous until that first person hit the door.
Yeah.
I was like, I have a real patient right now. Like, this is crazy. And then it was like, nobody really trickled in for a little bit. And I had that tough conversation with Umar for a second where I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling the feels right now. Yeah. Like, I hope this works.
And I think that's the reality of probably like any new business. Obviously, like he's told his story about how he sat in here for, 2-3 months and only had like 10 people walk through the door. Like it's, and he's sitting on, at that point in time, like a more financial burden than like most of it. I mean, realistically, like if the store doesn't like work in the first like month or two, like if we don't start producing like crazy amounts of money, like from the revenue from other things, like we will stay afloat and like be able to at least like try work until it continues to like work. Cause again, I don't see that as like a thing. Again, with the foundation that we've built, the clients that we have, the people that are already have been so supportive and have asked so much about like what's going on with the store. Like I think as soon as we open the doors, like people are just going to be in here. So that's where, again, like I think, but there could be times where it's like, that's not the case. Like, and I could be wrong. We could both be wrong, but I think it's just the experience of like watching him kind of go through it where it's like, and not to say it's not like the pressure is different in terms of like the services you guys provide, like people's lives are literally like in your hands in some capacity. Like you're literally jabbing people with needles. This dude is cracking people's spines. Like at the end of the day, like, I'm selling you vitamin C. Like, you get what I'm, but obviously they all have value. They all have, they're all super important, but it's a little bit different, I think, in terms of like what the service requires from a pressure standpoint. It's different than like what you guys have to do. Again, like he has, like you guys both have genuine health risks to the people that walk like in your door. And that's not to say that like the vitamins and supplements and that stuff can't bring like a risk to somebody or, whatever from that standpoint. But like, it's, I kind of look at it as like,
the liability side.
Yeah, well, I kind of related to like I worked at Nike for like a year, and it's like at the end of the day, like it's just clothes and shoes. Like people can get pissed about this and that, but it's like I'm just selling clothes and shoes to these people. Yeah. So it's like it's not that big of a deal, at the end of the day. Where it's like, and even like, and from this standpoint, like again, are the supplements, all that stuff super important? It's all going to have its value, but at the end of the day, like it's just a retail store.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, I think I just think that like you said, the liability and the pressures of like what has to be done now in terms of like, I got to make sure that the business is like functioning. So like, I would say the pressure from like maybe a business side of things is obviously the same level that you guys deal with. But again, I don't think in terms of like, if someone walks in the door, like, I'm not going to be like, oh shit. Like, what am I going to do with this person? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when he has people walk in, he has no idea, like they're saying like, oh, my back, this and that. Like, he just has to make a decision like on the spot, how to address it, how to make those decisions. Same thing with you. Like, you people are coming in for IVs. Sometimes they change. Sometimes they do this. Like, again, you got to jab a needle in somebody's arm. Like you've done it 1,000 times, but like, there's still a risk anytime you do it, obviously. So it's the same thing. He's cracked, 10,000 people's spines, but like, it's still a risk, it's just at the end of the day. But I think from that standpoint, I think it's a little different from like what I will do on a day-to-day basis versus like what you guys do on a day-to-day basis. But I think from a business perspective, like, the pressure of trying to have a business succeed is the same as it would be like from your perspective or from, the perspective that we've already built. But again, like I've spent so much time over there, and I've worked with the other 2 or 3 places I've worked closely with were like startup, like coaching businesses or like, things from that standpoint. So like I've seen a lot of like the behind the scenes, like business stuff. So I just think I have like and understanding, and like, again, with the confidence that he has about things and just how we've gone about things, like, it just like, we're going to open a store, we're going to sell vitamins and supplements, people are going to come in and buy them, they're going to have coffee, we're going to have meals, we're going to have all this stuff. We're just, again, creating just a literal experience. It's just an experience. At the same time, the same thing as everything else. Like, we're just creating an experience, and these people can walk in, they could buy $1,000 worth of stuff, or they could walk out and not buy anything. But it's just a matter of like, if we create that experience for them, even if they didn't buy anything, maybe they tell somebody else like, oh my God, there's this amazing vitamin shop, you know, down the street or whatever, like, you know, Asylum Natural Health and Supplements. Like, you should go check them out. You know, there wasn't anything that I wanted, but like something that you might want or something like that. So I just think from those perspectives, it's a little bit different from that stuff. And then again, I'm not in it yet. So it's like hard for me to say, like, I don't feel the weight of bills and stuff like that. Cause again, it's like that stuff is not tangible yet. But like, once like the bills are actually coming in, and like, I have to make sure that like the inventory is right and all this stuff is right. Like, that stuff, I'm sure I'll start to like feel that differently. But I think from the liabilities and like pressure of actual work, it's different for you guys than like what I would necessarily deal with day to day.
No, I definitely totally get that. That's understandable for sure. I have a catalog of signature Infused Conversations questions that I started rolling out for people. For you guys specifically, I have, if you could infuse one lesson about life into everyone, what would it be? We'll start with Umar, go to Collin next.
Oh, that's so hard. Oh my, what is it, like for business? Anything?
Whatever you want.
I say it all the time, and this is my saying, I didn't get this from anyone. Whoever can withstand the fire the longest is the one that's going to come out. That's for anything. That's my one lesson.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. I remember when you brought that up. I was like, damn, it's solid.
One day when we have an apparel company, it's going to be on the back.
Collin, anything for yourself? Different perspective, different things going on?
I'm not sure. I mean, I guess you got to put in the work, realistically, at the end of the day. Like, it's just a matter of, I mean, there's a lot of people that, you know, they talk about the things that they do or the things that they want to do, like, but at the end of the day, like, you have to physically put the work in for those to reap the benefits of like what it is that you want to do. And that's where it's, again, like looking at him, like the amount that he works, and I look at like the amount that like I work sometimes, and I'm like, man, like, you know, is there more that I could be doing? Like, sure, absolutely. But even I look at it, it's like the amount of time that like you have to genuinely put into something that like you're passionate about, honestly. Because I think there's a lot of people that put a lot of time into stuff that they don't really care about, and then it doesn't really get as far as they like hope. But like, you have to truly be like passionate. And I think when we look at guys, even like Chaz and you know, Kyle Massey and things like that, like, have they like won big yet? No, but like the amount of passion and like effort and work that they put into their stuff on like a day-to-day basis, like they are bound to win. Like, again, it comes from like that work. Like, that's where I've gotten to see him from behind the scenes. Like, I know all of the work, the hours, like the 100-hour weeks. Like, this dude works 100-hour weeks. Like, how many people work 40-hour weeks and they hate it? Like, so it just comes down to the fact that like you have to truly put the work in if there's something that like you genuinely want to do.
I'm glad you said that. I was hoping that was the route you take, and I think
was this supposed to be like a longer answer? I thought we were going for one.
It can be. No, it's whatever. It's whatever you want. Yeah. But I'm glad Collin said what he said, because I anticipated an answer similar for you, being the role that you've played. You are in it for the long game, and for you, it fits your personality. You put in the work. You put the behind the scenes that nobody sees. You have the passion behind the vision that, you know, your best friend is creating. You are equally putting in the work. Yeah. So that is kind of exactly what I was looking for an answer from Collin. I think
one thing to put on top of that is that people don't understand how much work it actually takes. Like, the amount of time and like work it takes. And again, you know, to go back to my sports background, like having 2 elbow surgeries, like I spent almost 10 years trying to like relearn to throw a ball properly. So like the amount of time like that I understand things take to come to fruition sometimes, like people, I just don't think they genuinely understand the amount of time and like effort it takes. And it's not always like duration. Like, again, we've built this, you know, he's built this business, we've built this business in 3 years. Like, it could have taken someone else 10 years, but if they're only working 40-hour weeks, like that's probably why it took them 10 years. Like, he's working 3 times that amount basically in the same week. Like, that's why we've been able to expand the way that we have. Because again, he could just have kept the Cairo office as the Cairo office, work 40-hour weeks like every other doctor in Cairo, make his, you know, 150, 200K that he'd probably make a year by the time things were, you know, fully functioning or whatever, and just be
All
good.
day.
Like he just be good. But that's just like, again, for what he wants to build, you know, for what I want to be a part of, for all of those things, like it takes the 100-hour work weeks. Like we wouldn't be in these positions that we are if he wasn't putting this in it. It's just the reality of the situation. I just don't think people truly understand like the amount of work that like is required to be successful in anything. Like the 10,000 hours rule. Like it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in something. Like
you guys,
there's a reason there's the 10,000 hour rule. Like it's a genuine thing, and it's just a matter of like, I think social media and those types of things now like make it look like it happens like
real.
this, and sometimes it does literally happen like that. I mean, we've seen guys that, you know, guys again, people that we know, like their social media has gone from like, you know, 5 to 10,000 followers to like 20 to 25, 30,000 followers in a couple days. But again, that comes from the amount of work that they put in before.
That's
like,
exactly
you know,
what I was going to say.
Again,
It's
a perfect
still the
example
build-up.
of perfect example is Kyle Massey. Like people look at him like, oh, he's the Gymshark athlete. Now, if you didn't know Kyle before the Gymshark athlete, like you look at the first post and you're like, oh, he won like a Gymshark. You know, he was picked as the athlete. But like, they don't see the 66 days of like content that he put in. They don't see the years of, you know, effort he's been doing to become a, you know, a fitness influencer from before anybody even knew who he was.
Yeah.
Like, so, and that's just a matter of like, again, he's talking about, you know, 5, 6, 7 years he's been trying to become an influencer, and it took, you know, 66 days for his videos to really catch fire. But like, if he didn't do that stuff for 5 to 7 years before that, like he wouldn't have even been in consideration for that stuff.
Wouldn't have had
So like
the opportunity.
that's where I just don't think
take
people truly understand how much time and work it like actually takes to like create something like,
meaningful.
yeah, like sustaining and like meaningful. And this, I mean, it's
Well,
just the reality.
People look at this and like we say it all the time when we say 3 years, their business, and it's like that's sick, but no one sees the past 7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people have no idea like the shit that I've done.
Yeah.
You know, and there's sometimes I don't even talk about some of the stuff that I've done because I'm like, damn, like I was hustling and like, you know, and it's like whatever. It's to network or any connection or anything. Like I've had people from like almost 6 years ago come back full circle and somehow be like a huge benefit to me. So like people see what you see on social, but like people forget of what it really took. Like I've been networking for almost 7.5 years, like to be able to have the network that I have, some that I don't have to use, some that I'm saving in my back pocket for a really bad time. Like you just don't know. So it's like my network for my age definitely goes well beyond most people's.
Yeah.
Like I would say.
1,000%. Great stuff. This was a solid one. This is the longest podcast so far.
Damn.
And we didn't break. I mean, there was the other ones we like had to like take a second to chill out.
Oh, really?
You guys were rolling the whole hour and 20 minutes.
I was solid. I'm actually looking forward to some of those. I feel
there's
like
there's gonna be some great clips. You guys have some awesome insight. I think this will be a very good one to see the business side of partnership, especially that you two are friends. Seeing how you two deal with the adversity of the growing a business from absolutely nothing, and how you guys are creating that experience. I think that's going to be one of the biggest takeaways for people, is how they can move forward in their both personal lives and business lives to create an environment for others where there is a constant experience for people to want to come back into their life or the business that they're creating. So I can't wait to get this one out. Guys, thank you for listening to Infused Conversation. We will be doing more podcast episodes with Umar and Collin in the future. Solo ones to kind of go over their roles within their areas of business, their own tips. And for Collin as a new business owner, kind of focusing in on how he's growing in a couple months. We'll see you then.
Asylum Natural Health and Supplements. Be there.
Bitch.